Hey guys, welcome back. Well, we're trying to come up with a good plan for some weight reduction. We we found one way to save weight, just remove the engine. Unfortunately, we think it's going to slow the car down. Two, it wouldn't be acceptable. But yeah, we pulled the motor and trans in about 15 minutes. That's pretty cool. Just because everything's already out of the car, all I had to do is a few bolts and yank it out. Anyway, that was nice. So what we're doing, we're kind of just going to strip this down to a tub at this point. I think that's what's going to happen because it's really close. The whole back end's out of the car at this point. There's the subframe and the gas tank and the diff, control arms. Anyway, yeah, it's all empty, all gone. We're going to be doing some metal removal back here, cutting out pretty much everything we don't have to have. So this fancy little thing I put in here is going to go. In fact, probably all of this is going to come out of the car because that section doesn't do anything, more or less. If I lift the car, you can kind of see, but basically, let's see. I don't know if I can pick this up, but basically somewhere in this region, right in front of here or something, whatever, that's where the subframe bolts in. There's like 6 big holes and there's 6 bolts. So boom, boom, one over there. So that part has to stay, but everything behind it, pretty much just going to cut it out. This whole center section where the fuel tank goes, all that sheet metal, I mean, it's not much. That's pretty thin stuff, I think. Yeah, we're going to cut that out too. Just get rid of it. And may even put a floor in that section. I don't know, we'll see. But that's going to basically, this whole section from here all the way up into that wall up there is going to be gone. That's what I'm thinking. And in the back of the car, we're going to cut out those wheel wells. And I need to look a little more. I think for the bumper, there's only like this bolt, and I think that bolt for the bumper. And then there's I think there's something down there like plastic clips or something that were broken anyway. And then there's a plastic piece that goes here, and it locks in. And I think there's a bolt that used to go like here, but this metal's gone, so that doesn't even exist. So I'm basically thinking about just cutting all of this. I guess I'd have to leave a little bit for the taillights just to hold those on. But basically all this will just disappear, and most of the metal in here, I'd probably have to add a little bit back just to kind of pick up and support this bodywork. Because if you do cut all that out, it's just going to be kind of floating in space. And there's actually some pretty heavy metal down here. That's pretty beefy, which I'm sure is for like towing and strapping the car down. So we are going to have something for that, but I'll likely just move those points further forward. And still thinking about that, but just to give you an example, say we cut this off here, I would weld a flat plate to it to kind of close that section off. So perhaps, you know, put like a welded, like a threaded insert or something in that section, and then I could thread in like a loop or something and hook a strap to it, so you could always, basically you'd have like a little strap hanging down, and I could reach in there and hook it to ratchet strap the car down when needed. As far as towing, we'll have to figure that out. I'm probably going to put like something on the front and back that you can hook to tow the car. Probably just a strap or something, I don't know, we'll figure it out. What the Germans do, they have a threaded insert and you thread a metal rod in and then tow off of that. So we might do something like that. We'll figure it out. Not super worried. But yeah, basically we're going to cut all this metal out that we don't need back here. This whole fuel tank section. This area right here by the door, I'm still kind of, here, let me spin the camera around. I'll have a little bit of something to show. So you can see here I've got X's on some of this metal. And that's essentially metal that I think we're going to cut out of the car. I didn't finish. I just kind of started drawing this and then got busy with something else. But yeah, we're going to cut out some of that metal that we don't need. Those 2 pieces going across there and that piece there for the seats. Those are coming out. Basically every tab and threaded fastener that's not required. So like that thing, all those studs poking out, sound deadening, all these little brackets and tabs, and this corner piece, whatever that thing is, that's going to come out. That brace there is going to stay. That looks kind of structural. Not going to mess with that. But yeah, we're just going through taking metal out. Let me go open the door. I can't remember if I marked anything over here. Oh, I did. Okay. So thinking about cutting all of that out, including the door latch. And also on the doors, I haven't marked any of this, but we already gutted the doors. But I don't have a scale. I need to weigh these. That's kind of on my list, is to go buy like a bathroom scale just so I can get approximate weights on stuff. But I know for sure that this glass is coming out. We're deleting all the glass, so that's going to come out. We'll replace it with Lexan. All this heavy rubber is probably going to stay. I'll have to look at it. But I want the look of the car to not look like a race car on the body. I want it to look factory as much as I can. So all this heavy rubber trim shit's going to stay. These mirrors, haven't got around to it. It's kind of a low priority, but these are going to come apart. I know they have motors in them. I don't know what else they have, but do what I can to lightweight the mirrors. But I think we're going to keep them. All this steel on the door, all this crap's coming off. I basically want to make this a door skin, just something extremely light. I still want the handles to be here and probably functional. I have to think about that. I might say that maybe one's functional and one isn't, but I'll probably keep them both functional. They're kind of heavy. There looks like a whole bunch of complicated mechanism to make the door open, and I guess if I delete that, it ain't gonna work. So I don't know, I got some figuring out to do there. But there's definitely still some heavy metal in this door. This is kind of thick. Like, I can't bend this much. There's this tube that's gonna come out. Up here where the hinges hook, that is literally like 3/16 thick, probably 4 mil thick steel. So we'll see. I don't know how carried away we're gonna get on the doors, but we're at least gonna do the easy stuff, or at least I think we are. And then another point is the hinges. These hinges are very beefy. So not sure yet what we're gonna do. My first thought was just unbolt them and drill holes in them and put them back, just because fabbing new hinges sounds like a lot of work. I could probably just Swiss cheese the shit out of these, and that kind of rhymed. LOL. But yeah, that would probably save a decent amount of weight. Let's probably do that. You can see we got this other chemical lightweighting process underway, so that's very nice. Luckily, that's about the only rust on the whole car. This had body filler. We just like scraped it out of there, and there's some surface rust, but there's no holes or anything, so that's nice. You can see like here, we're gonna get rid of all this body filler, cut some stuff. There's another thing, and we're still working on the front, trying to figure out, my first thought is basically, see this green mark I drew right here? Yeah, you can kind of see it right there. Basically just cut the whole front of the car off. It's kind of what I want to do. And frankly, right now I think that's what we're going to do. I'm kind of leaning to it. So what I did up here, I took a white pink pen and I marked the critical bolt holes. So these two pickup points, that supports the front fender. That bottom thing is for the headlight support. That's for the fender. And then those two catch the fender. Coming back here next to the fender, we got another headlight support. This is a headlight support, and this is a bumper support. And that's also a bumper support, but I'm not as worried about that one. And then it's just a mirror image, all the same stuff over there. So what I'm thinking, I keep looking at this. I really want to take all this off the car. And what I'm thinking is, we're just going to cut all this shit off. But I can't do that yet. Even though I want to, it would feel good to see all this metal go away. The car would just look better, in my opinion. And I've always wanted to get rid of this whole thing in the front. I've actually gotten rid of, used to have this plastic shit and some metal parts, and I got rid of all that. But I've always wanted to get rid of this because it would make removing the engine easier. If this part like unbolted or, you know, like whatever I do, I'm damn sure I want this front piece to be removable, so that if you want to pull the engine, you can just unbolt the front of the car and take it off, or pull some, or I don't know how, but shit's going to be removable. That would be nice. And I think that's what we're going to end up doing. I've considered other options, so like cutting away some stuff and maybe drilling holes in places, but it's going to be so much work, and it's still going to be heavier than I want, and it's going to be ugly, and I don't know. Yeah, I think we're just going to cut this shit off. The cool thing is I don't need a lot of strength up here to support those parts, although I might need some strength if you're really thinking about like crash worthiness or something. So got some thought to do on that, because, you know, probably not a bad idea to be thinking that way. So total weight savings may not be fantastic if I end up cutting all this off and then tubing it out for safety. For safety, it's going to add weight. If I don't do that and I just put the bare minimum to support these pickup points, then it would definitely save a lot of weight. Probably save some weight either way. But as far as these pickup points, my current thought right now is like, how do I do this? So I'm sure some of the viewers of the channel have seen Project Binky. So I'm totally not on their level, but one of the things I saw them do was they built their negative jig thingy. So I'm kind of thinking maybe do that. And my thought was just basically buy or make a round washer thing that fits these bolt holes pretty tight. And basically you'd set this piece of steel here, put a bolt in and torque it, put another one here and torque it, and just go around doing that to all these pickup points. And where that thing is, it's just plastic, but it just snaps into a hole, so you can unsnap it and you just have a hole there. So same thing, stick a bolt through it, bolt a piece of metal. And the idea is you bolt all these pickup points down, and then I just got to build a frame that connects them. And what I'm thinking is, I don't want this to be like a big project or take too long, because then I probably won't do it. So one thought I had was to just buy like some, say, maybe not 1/8 inch, but like 1/8 inch or 3/16 or something, steel rod. Something that's thin enough that you can bend it around, but it's not so thin that it bends if you push on it with like 2 pounds. And if I did that, you could basically like weld a piece of steel and just kind of bend it until it's like neutral laying here, and bend it until it's neutral laying there, and basically just tack weld it, you know, the rod to the metal pieces you put, and then you can bend it here and like loop like that and catch this point and loop it over here and catch that one. Something like that. And you could put a few of them, or, you know, figure it out. But basically you'd build this like little skeleton that kind of spider webs from point to point to point, and kind of tie them all together and hope none of it moves. And then you can unbolt the assembly from the car. And I guess in that regard you could know it works, because you could unbolt it and try to reinstall it and make sure, like, say if one of the points moves, you could bend the steel frame, and eventually you'd be able to like lay it on the car just like you were laying a fender on the car, and see that all the holes line up, and that there's not like, you're not having to tighten a bolt to like suck it up against the car. Once you build your jig, obviously we got to do it again for that side, but once you build the negative jig, that would be fantastic. Then I can cut all this shit off, and I'm probably going to keep probably these 2 points, maybe a third point, but say these 2 points, and maybe put, I don't know, just say those 2 for now. So that way I can cut the car off, install my jig, and it's going to have a thing that I can literally build to put my mounting points back in the car. How I'm going to do the mounting points yet, I don't really know. That's to be determined. Sheet metal, tubes, I don't know, something. But at least we'd have a jig that puts everything back in space. Because if you don't build the jig and you cut all this off, you're going to have a lot of work ahead of you when you actually have to try to put headlights and a bumper and fenders on here, because none of this stuff, you're going to be like guessing in 3 dimensions. That sounds terrible. So building a negative jig, even though it's going to slow me down now, it's going to speed things up a lot later. So that's planning, making your job easier. But anyway, at this point, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Build that negative jig, and just cut this whole front of the car off, basically from the subframe forward. Will get removed in the front, and roughly in the back from the subframe rearward is going to get removed. And again, the only thing that's going to stay is sheet metal that's visible when the car's fully built, and additional sheet metal, the minimum required for support, and only if it's better to do it that way than to do something else. So like in the back here, like this whole wall of metal, like all of this, is probably just going to come off the car. I don't think it's doing anything, so we'll probably take all that off. Maybe, like I said, maybe we'll throw a couple tubes back here just to give it a little bit of crash structure or something. But the car's going to have a cage, so even if you didn't have that, you do have a cage if you wreck the car. But yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. We're trying to pull some more weight out of this car. I was kind of thinking like get another 100 pounds out of here or so, and I think that's doable. It's just gonna take some work. But, you know, if we cut all this metal out of the back, cut metal out the front, metal out of the middle, then the doors, up in the dashboard region, all of that's going to add up. We got this fuel tank out, which, God, it looks ugly. I mean, it's been in the car forever, so I guess they get dirty, but that thing's nasty. But these are supposedly like 22 or 24 pounds, so losing weight there. And this rear subframe, I'm probably going to beef it up a little here and there, but I've got some ideas of how to lightweight it, and kind of the same thing for the front. That front subframe, I keep looking at it, and I'm just drag racing. This thing looks way overkill for drag racing, so I'm very tempted to, excuse me, very tempted to cut some holes in this or whatever, just to save weight. So we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of thinking, getting this sucker prepped. I figured it'd be better to do all the chassis work now and really get this thing how I want it before we go building a race car. So thinking we're going to do that. Anyway, until next time, y'all take it easy.